The city never sleeps, but it often holds its breath. Tonight, the metropolis exhales a cold, damp sigh, slicking the asphalt with a sheen of liquid neon. Towering monoliths of steel and glass scrape a sky bruised purple and black, their distant lights like a constellation of broken promises. The camera drifts down, a silent observer descending through the canyons of concrete until it finds him. Detective Miller, a solitary silhouette against the urban sprawl, stands anchored beneath the sputtering pulse of a dying streetlight. His trench coat, heavy with the night's rain, does little to shield him from the chill that seeps deeper than bone. His gaze sweeps the empty intersection, but he isn't looking for someone. He's listening for the city's secrets. And a profound, gnawing unease contorts his weary features. Something is wrong. The silence is too loud, the shadows too deep. His focus sharpens, the weariness in his eyes momentarily replaced by a hunter's glint. We are pulled into a rapid succession of images, fragmented and jarring. A narrow alleyway choked with overflowing dumpsters and the ghosts of yesterday's refuse becomes a stage for a fleeting drama. A figure more shadow than substance melts into a doorway at the far end, a phantom slipping back into the abyss from which it came. The movement is so quick it's almost imagined, a trick of the flickering light and strained nerves. The sound follows, a sibilant whisper that slithers through the oppressive quiet. The voices are indistinct, a muffled conspiracy of sounds that promise nothing good, the kind of hushed tones that precede a betrayal or a blade. They are the sound of the city's dark heart beating just out of sight. Miller's hand, steady despite the tremor he feels inside, lifts a piece of paper into the weak light. It's a note, crumpled as if from a clenched fist, the edges softened by moisture. For a moment it's just trash, another piece of urban detritus. Then the camera finds its focus and the ink bleeds into clarity. A single word scrawled with a desperate, jagged energy. World. Not a place, but a concept so vast it's meaningless, yet here it feels like a key or a tombstone. A muscle jumps in Miller's jaw. The pieces, scattered and broken, suddenly slam together in his mind, forming a picture he wishes he couldn't see. It wasn't a clue, it was a declaration. His expression hardens into a mask of grim resolve. He finally understands the scale of the game. The city's rhythm fractures. A montage of dread unfolds. The relentless, metallic tick of a clock hand sweeping past midnight, each second an eternity. The distant, mournful wail of a siren, a sound so common it's usually ignored, now feels like a personal omen. A pale, trembling hand reaching for a doorknob, hesitating on the threshold of the unknown. The film cuts back, pulling away from the intimate terror to the impersonal vastness of the skyline. The lights of the metropolis continue to burn with indifferent intensity, a sprawling, luminous trap. The night stretches on, infinite and unforgiving. The final shot lingers on the city, a concrete ocean of secrets where one man's revelation is just a single, silent scream lost in the endless, indifferent dark. The door creaked open into a silence that felt heavier than sound, revealing a dimly lit apartment where shadows clung to the corners like old secrets. He called her name, the sound swallowed by the stillness. A half-empty glass on the table and a shawl draped over a chair were the only sign she had ever been there. Quick, jarring flashes filled his mind. The apartment now empty, a window left ajar. The faint scent of rain and something else, something primal. A cold dread washed over the man as the truth settled in his gut. She was gone, vanished as if she were a ghost all along. His search began as a frantic pulse against the city's dark heart. He plunged into grimy alleyways where the only light came from flickering neon signs, their colors bleeding onto the wet pavement. Each dead end and abandoned building echoed his growing desperation. He moved with a relentless purpose, his determined eyes scanning the darkness for any sign. Any clue left behind. A single shimmering strand of silk caught on a rusted fire escape was all it took. A breadcrumb leading him deeper into the urban decay, towards an answer he wasn't sure he was ready for. The sight that confronted him was a nightmare spun into reality. There, stretched between two crumbling brick walls, was a colossal, intricate spider web shimmering with an unnatural luminescence. And trapped within its sticky embrace was the secret girl, her simple dress torn, her body ensnared by the thick, pearlescent threads. Her eyes wide with unspeakable fear met his, a silent plea for help screaming across the small, horrifying space. Around her, the web held other prisoners. A menacing cockroach twitched its antennae. A swarm of flies buzzed in a doomed panic, and a cluster of bees vibrated with agitated fury. Panic was a luxury he could not afford. The man's mind raced, his gaze darting from the girl to the grotesque insects. He saw the cockroach, aggressive and territorial, its attention fixed on the struggling girl. He needed a distraction, a chaotic event to draw focus away from his true purpose. With a flick of his wrist, he sent a small pebble skittering across the web near the agitated bees. The vibration was immediate. The cockroach, sensing a new disturbance, scuttled sideways, its path now aimed directly at the buzzing, angry swarm. The web shook violently as the insects collided in a tangled, vicious struggle. It was the opening he needed. While the monstrous bug and the furious bees were locked in their deadly dance, the man moved with a swift and silent grace. He carefully began to pull at the thick, adhesive strands binding the girl, his fingers working with a surgeon's precision. He tore and unwound the silken prison, gently pulling her free from the web's grasp. As her feet touched the solid ground, she collapsed into him. A wave of relief and silent gratitude passing between them in the cold, dark air. The nightmare was over. The man slammed the door open, his voice echoing into the dimly lit apartment, but there was no reply. A cold silence hung in the air, thick with the scent of her perfume and something else, fear. He moved through the empty rooms, his eyes scanning for any sign of the secret girl he was looking for. A knocked-over glass, an open window. A single shoe left behind, every detail screamed that she hadn't left willingly. A knot of dread tightened in his stomach as the truth settled in. She was gone, and something was terribly wrong. His search began as a desperate race against the encroaching darkness. He plunged into the city's forgotten corners, his figure a fleeting shadow in grimy alleyways and the hollow skeletons of abandoned buildings. Each dead end only fueled his determination, his expression hardening into a mask of grim resolve as he pieced together the faintest of clues. A torn piece of fabric snagged on a rusted fence. A strange symbol scrawled in the dust. He followed the trail with a hunter's instinct, his every sense on high alert. The trail led him to a horrifying tableau. He found her, the secret girl, ensnared within a colossal, glistening spiderweb that pulsed with a life of its own. Her body was suspended, struggling weakly against the sticky threads. Trapped alongside her were other creatures, a menacing cockroach with twitching antennae, a swarm of agitated bees and flies buzzing in a frantic chorus. Her eyes, wide with terror, locked onto his, a silent plea for rescue that cut him deeper than any blade. Panic gave way to a daring plan. He couldn't risk a direct assault on the web. Instead, he observed the chaotic ecosystem of the trap. With a flick of his wrist, he sent a small stone skittering near the cockroach, expertly guiding its attention toward the frantic bees. The distraction worked. The monstrous insect lunged, and the web shook violently as a vicious struggle erupted between the trapped creatures, their conflict providing the perfect cover. With the web's occupants distracted by their own brutal battle, the man moved with silent precision. He worked quickly, his fingers carefully untangling the sticky strands that held the girl captive. He gently pulled her free from the silken prison, his hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. For a fleeting second, they shared a look of profound relief and gratitude, a silent acknowledgement of the nightmare they had just escaped. They made their way down a desolate path shrouded in oppressive shadows, every snap of a twig sending a fresh wave of anxiety through them. Suddenly, a sharp metallic step echoed nearby, and they froze. Their eyes were drawn to a strange puddle on the ground ahead, a thick white oil that glowed with an eerie, unnatural light. Driven by a grim curiosity, the man knelt and cautiously touched the viscous substance. The moment his skin made contact with the oil, it surged with a volatile energy. The glowing liquid pulsed, and a grotesque monster began to materialize from the ground before them. Its form twisting into a horrifying shape of pure malice. A gasp of terror escaped their lips. The man and the girl exchanged a single, fearful glance, an unspoken understanding passing between them in that instant. Without hesitation, the man launched himself at the creature, meeting its raw power with his own desperate strength in a fierce struggle. In the heat of the fight, he suddenly roared, "Stop!" his eyes fixed on the girl. She followed his gaze upward toward the dark sky, her voice a fragile whisper that was almost lost in the chaos. "It's raining." As if on cue, the heavens opened up. A sudden torrential downpour began to fall, drenching them in an icy deluge. The confrontation was over for now. They turned and ran, seeking urgent shelter from the monster in the storm.